Greetings, y'all. Welcome back to a windy and sunny day here in North Florida. Well, it's that time of year again. It's tater time. And this year I was curious to try a new technique where I'm going to try to grow them all in a container, this time a trash can. So we're going to do some trash can taters. And I also have some beans that are ready to go into the ground after I did all my mulching in the last couple of days. So we'll get over here, we'll check out our beans, we'll check out our trash can taters, and we'll also take a tour of the yard now that we've got the mulching filled in and kind of see what we have in store for our future plantings. The seedlings that I did a few weeks ago are just now starting to break the surface, so they've got another week or two to go before they're ready to go into the ground permanently. But we'll get our taters and our beans started now and then take a tour of the yard and check the seedlings later. So let's go. Alrighty, y'all. Here's our little trash can tater and beans setup. As you can see, we've got our, of course, our trash can ready to go, and it's an old beat up one that already has some holes in it, so I don't feel bad about drilling a few more in there. We've got some potting soil ready to go. I just kind of grabbed the cheapest, most basic kind of organic thing I could find. I was actually looking for topsoil, but they didn't have any. But it's nothing special. You don't need to spend any money, and you could even use just soil out of the yard is fine. I've got my taters, which have been chitting for the last few weeks and have new slips coming up. We've got our beans that we're going to transplant later, a little bit of organic slow release fertilizer, and some mulch, which we're going to be using to kind of create layers with inside of our trash can in kind of a lasagna style to help keep our potatoes from getting too bogged down and too wet. So first we're going to do is start by just drilling some holes into the base of our trash can here to get some good drainage, and then we'll flip it over and start filling it full of our mulch and alternating layers of soil. So first, let's start by drilling some holes. Alrighty, y'all, here's our trash can here. It's got a nice solid plastic bottom on it, but it does need more drainage. The one thing with growing in a container is that you need to have very, very good drainage. Most plants actually suffer from having soil that's too wet that then causes root rot. So we want to put plenty of drainage in the bottom, and I'm just going to use a little 1/2-inch drill bit, just a wooden drill bit, and just drill some holes into the bottom of this. No particular order. I'm just probably going to use these little concentric rings that are already here on the trash can itself, and we'll put maybe, 1 or 2 dozen holes in the bottom, and that should be fine. So let's have some fun. All right, we got lots of holes here now. We'll just clean off the little bits of debris, flip our trash can over, and start filling it with our alternating layers of mulch and soil. Alrighty, y'all, and here's our trash can that's turned over, and hopefully you can kind of see the holes through the bottom there. There's plenty of holes for that water to drain out of the bottom when the time comes. But our first layer, we're just going to go use some of our mulch that we've got here. And the good thing about the mulch is that it'll provide aeration on the bottom while also sort of slowly breaking down and just sort of forming its own compost as well. As all the moisture and soil and everything kind of settles towards the bottom naturally, all of this will of course start to break down as well. So as those potato roots get down to the very, very bottom, with some luck, we'll have some good kind of natural compost forming in situ here. So we'll get another couple inches on here, and then we'll start with our first layer of soil and our first layer of taters. Alright, and here's just a quick shot of the soil I'm using here. I'm not sponsored, I'm not choosing any particular brand. I just wanted to show that it's basically anything that's organic in the sense that it does not have any extra added synthetic fertilizers to it. Even just plain old topsoil would work fine, or dirt out of your yard. I just didn't want to get anything that was expensive called potting soil, or that had perlite or any extra fertilizers added to it. So when I went to the store, this sort of raised bed garden soil was about the sort of closest thing they had to just good old regular dirt. So I'm just going to go with this for now, and you can see it's just a very rich black soil with no perlite, no additives to it really whatsoever. So hopefully it'll serve as just a nice natural source of just good organic matter that we can put our taters in, and from there we can add a little bit of slow release organic fertilizer ourselves. I just didn't want to get anything that had stuff pre-mixed into it. So now we'll start adding this to our layer of mulch, and then we can add our taters on top of that. Alright, y'all, here's a shot of the taters I'm using this year. Again, it's nothing fancy, no particular brand or variety. I just got this at the big box store, and I saw that it had, several different colors all in one box, so I just decided to get those. And they've been sitting in this brown paper bag that they came in for about the last 2 weeks or so. And if we look at the bottom, we can see that sure enough, they're starting to put out slips, and they've already started to chick down here at the bottom. So we'll now open these guys up and put them in our soil that we've now filled into our trash can. Alrighty, y'all, here's our seed taters, and they're all in place. And as you can see, we've got all of the sprouts facing upwards. There may be a few, you know, that sort of point to alternate sides, but we want to try to get the majority of them facing upwards. You'll see some people that will cut their seed taters into smaller portions, but I've never really done that, and it does, you know, introduce the possibility of infection. So I sort of like just leaving them intact as they are. And so as the next step from here is just to add our next layer of organic soil here on the top. And we don't want to make it very thick, right? Just a couple inches or so. Spread that around. Whoops. Gently. Of course, we don't want to knock off the new growth on our seed taters there. Maybe just a little bit more. There we go. Nice little thin layer of soil. And we can still just barely sort of see the taters peeking out from beneath there, right? So they're about, what would you say, maybe sort of 90% covered. And then we can now take our next layer of mulch and just very lightly kind of sprinkle that on the top, right? Just a little thin layer just to kind of help protect that soil. Alrighty, y'all, and here's a shot with a little bit of mulch on top. It's just an inch or so. It's not a whole lot, just enough to kind of cover and protect the soil. And from here, we're just going to water it in very, very thoroughly. And this will be our first layer of our trash can tater lasagna. And in the subsequent weeks, when it breaks the surface and we start seeing some new green growth, we can then pile some new soil up around that and then again cover it with a little bit of mulch. And as those taters grow higher and higher and higher, they should kick out more and more baby taters off of their stems to the side. And at the very least, by keeping them contained within a bucket here, we'll at least get all of the ones out that we put in. Sometimes when you put them in the ground, you don't always get them all back out again. So let's just water this guy in real good, and then we'll move on to our next project, which is getting our beans down into the ground. I have 3 different color beans. That'll be fun. I'll be putting those on a chain link fence area that's kind of blank and in desperate need of a little bit of filling in. So here's our trash can taters with our alternating layers of mulch, organic soil, and our starter taters. And we'll keep checking in on this guy every few weeks to see how it's doing. And with any luck, in about 90 days, we'll have, I don't know, maybe a bag or 2 of taters of all different colors, hopefully red, purple, and yellow. It should be pretty cool. Alrighty, y'all, we got our little bean patch prepped here and ready to go. As you can see, we're along the fence line here, and it's quite bare. But I took my little mulch and used my little scrapey tool here and just pulled the mulch out of the way to expose a little bit of the native soil, which isn't too bad, actually. You know, it's not the greatest in the world, but it's not too bad. It's actually got a decent amount of organic matter in it. But I am going to add just a little tiny bit of slow-release fertilizer. This is just a 6-6-6 blend, so, you know, like 5-5-5, or you could just use a half the recommended amount of 10-10-10 to achieve the same effect. And you can see when I pull my bean plants over here, they're already root bound and coming out the bottom, so they're definitely ready to go. We want to just get these guys pulled out of here, spaced, oh, maybe, I don't know, a foot apart or so. There's no magical number exactly, just enough room so that they're not crowding each other. And I forgot to label these as I normally do, so I don't know exactly which color is which. But I know that there's some purple, there's some yellow, and some green. And so I just labeled it tricolor. So it'll be a little bit of a surprise for us when they come up. But we'll get each of these propped up right in here. We'll then go back when I have 2 hands here, and we'll fill all of this in, cover it with our mulch, water it in thoroughly, and as it continues to grow, we'll start to weave it into the chain link here, and we'll send them all off in their own directions. This one will go farthest to the left, this one will go farthest to the right, and the 2 in the middle can kind of just go up the middle. All right, and here's all the beans now that have been watered in, covered with mulch, and already kind of started to aim in the directions we want. We'll have 4 different colored beans here, all going in different directions along the fence. So now we'll just take a little quick tour of the yard here. You can see where I've been busy filling in all these sort of beds that I made previously with mulch. And as we come around towards the front here, I even took some of my extra mulch and kind of helped to create a little bit of a sort of a driveway, I guess you could say. I have a little bit of mulch left over in case I need to fill in some spots. But as I come out to the front here, you can see how I created this little mulch path, which is kind of nice for the car because I was just driving on the grass anyway. So now we've got lots of blank, empty, mulched beds ready to go. Our seedlings are now just breaking the surface. So hopefully by next week we can actually start putting them in the ground, or at the very least up potting them so they can get a little bit larger and then go in the ground. So thank you so much for joining me on this one, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers and chews. Bye.